Hello there, and welcome to part 2 of the EME5250 Spring 2020 Project Presentation Series. My name is Katie Kelly, and I am a representative from the Spring 2020 class of EME5250. In this video, we will get into the intricacies of the project developed by my class. If you haven't had a chance to check out the first video, please take some time to do so, as it will provide you with an introduction and an overview of some of the major components of open educational resources. Otherwise, let's dive right in. Our agenda for this video includes outline the OER resources developed for the EME5250 class project, identify each topic contained in the OER resource, and explain the relevance of OER. Our project consisted of a handful of major goals that spanned throughout the semester. Essentially, the entire class was divided into smaller subgroups, and each group worked to develop small parts of an otherwise large and complex whole. So first, we wanted to explore major topics in OER for education. So this would include things like, resources that teach educators and instructional designers how to find and incorporate and create OER for their particular educational endeavor. Once we had conducted some major study of the existing research on OER, we aimed to design a collection of OER. So as I mentioned, we used a divide and conquer approach where the entire class was divided into smaller groups, and each group tackled a specific topic and included a variety of different types of instructional resources on that topic. So we have things like videos, guides, infographics, lesson plans, all kinds of different materials. Once we had gotten a good ways through the development phase of these materials, we created a repository for the collection. So the major repository is a Google site which contains information on each topic pertaining to OER, as well as all kinds of different editable resources that you can use either to learn or to teach others about open educational resources. And now we're in the end phase of sharing the final results. So one way we're doing this is through these different promotional videos. We've also been trying to push it out on social media and share it with undergraduate level classes, various different methods for trying to make our resource widely available to other educators. So now that we have reached this final goal, we will get into some of the specifics of what this project entails. So as I mentioned before, every small group in the class tackled a particular topic pertaining to OER, and they developed a variety of resources and modules pertaining to those topics. So our first module is an introduction to OER, so that goes into the basics, very similar to the first video I created in this series. Module 2 is concerned with copyright and Creative Commons licensing, so you can find a lot of information about how to use those licenses as well as the specifics of what they entail. Module 3 is a locating and sharing OER resource, so this teaches you different methods and practical skills for finding and sharing different open educational resources, particularly online. Module 4, I can provide a little bit more in-depth information about, as this was the module that my group contributed to, and that is adapting OER to the classroom. So this module was essentially aimed at the goal of providing different levels of educators with resources that they could use to find an OER and properly incorporate that into their classroom. So for example, we each tackled a different age group. My work was primarily focused on online graduate level instructors, while a few other people in my group focused on different types of K-12 settings. And we developed things like lesson plans and guides and templates, teaching instructors the different steps for finding and using OER, or adapting it if they see fit, as well as providing them with a template lesson plan and suggestions for OER that might be good for their specific group of learners. Moving on to Module 5, this was focused on designing for the 5 R's, so practical skills that help you to find and create OER that maximize 5R usage. For example, one way you can maximize some of the 5R capabilities is by posting your open educational resource in a format that is easily edited by other individuals. Module 6 is accessibility. That highlights the importance of making sure that your OER is accessible to learners with diverse needs and provides a few tips for how you might achieve that. Module 7 is focused on introducing OER to others, so this would be things like showing OER to your clients if you're an instructional designer and helping them to adopt the idea of using this particular type of educational material. And finally, Module 8 focuses on providing OER attributions, so this will give you a few tips and tricks for how you should properly attribute an open educational resource that you are using to the original creator, and it also recaps some of the other information we have covered throughout the other modules. Now that we've gone into the timeline of what we did and the details of the end product, we should get into the why behind this entire project. Why are open educational resources relevant in the field of education or just in general? So first and foremost, educational institutions that choose to adopt OER can potentially save a lot of money for their students. Many of these students come from low socioeconomic backgrounds and could greatly benefit from being able to access learning materials that aren't extremely expensive. And the same goes for different TAs and instructors who might want a few supplemental resources and would appreciate a low cost or free alternative. Additionally, this provides instructors and designers with a little bit more freedom. If they have a particular educational resource they like, they are able to adapt it and tweak it and remix it with other materials as they see fit for their classroom. Overall, OER and the whole concept of open educational resources and open learning really aims to remove all kinds of restrictions that may sort of isolate some of the learners out there. And this in turn can help make education more widely attainable to more people by, removing restrictions such as cost or strict timelines or strict licensing requirements, various things that could potentially alienate some of our learners. And finally, in current times, OER is potentially a good proponent of social distancing because it allows people to learn from home in many cases, given the vast amount of books and online courses that are available for either low cost or no cost at all. This is really good for anyone who is interested in using their time to learn something new or go through some professional development for their career, all types of different options that people can engage in while they are practicing social distancing. So let's recap what we've gone over in this instructional video. First, we explored the OER project developed by EME5250. We went through all of the different topics and media types and purpose behind our project. And then we outlined the relevance and impact of the OER movement. So as I mentioned, things like making education more widely attainable to a larger number of learners and giving individuals a few extra resources for both teaching and self-guided education. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you are interested in looking into our OER project, you can find the link to the Google site in the video description. Otherwise, thanks again for taking the time to look into our project and stay safe out there.